like you said, on the off chance we say something good, we should click record.
Just in case.
Just
Just
in
in
case.
case. Well, how goes the isolation and social distancing?
It's starting to wear on me, if I'm honest. I mean, it was pouring rain today, and I wanted to get outside so bad I took a walk in the rain. Couldn't convince anybody to go with me, but I just couldn't. Yeah, I'm getting tired of it.
Well, I actually went for a short walk today as well, and yeah, it wasn't pouring down rain, but it was a little windy and there was water in the air. I put on a windbreaker and yeah,
Yeah.
just get out of my basement. I've taken to when I go upstairs in mid morning. Generally, is the first time I go up to refill a water cup or something like that. And normally, by the time or when I start work, the kids are still asleep, and their schools are starting around 9 or 9:30 these days. The online schools, and so I go up mid morning, get a drink, and I'll be like, it's like in the upper lands. And my son called me a basement troll the other day. Probably accurate.
Basement troll.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like it.
I've been spending a whole lot of time down in my basement.
That's where my office is, down in the basement.
Yeah, exactly. So, let's see. Got anything fun though to talk about for the week or the weekend?
Oh my goodness. So, yeah, no, I'm going to avoid talking about all my the reason why we're starting late tonight is because my mic stopped working and I could not get it to work, so I had to swap out to backup mic. So,
Sorry.
It's all right. But no, I still have in my to-do list. So we're taking off in 2 days on Friday to on the big road trip to go
drive.
empty out daughter number one's apartment. I think she said her new roommate, she's moving into the apartment across the hall or across the balcony, like next door. She's moving in right next door with a friend.
Okay.
And her friend apparently thinks she's going to be able to move in this weekend as well. So I'm like, please let us just pick our stuff up from one, walk across the balcony to the other apartment and put it in a corner so that we don't have to pick up a bunch of stuff and haul it either to grandma's or home or whatever. So fingers crossed we'll be able to do that.
So I'm sorry. So her new roommate is going to be living there during the summer?
Yeah. So her new roommate is moving out of her old apartment where she's at now and moving into this new place where they got a place together, and it happens to be in the same condo complex area, whatever this is, as where she's living now, and also just happens to be right next door. So
that would be very handy. I will keep my fingers crossed for you.
Yes.
I will keep
and
my fingers
I
crossed.
still have on my to-do list to turn off my phone to cross the border into Utah, and then
I was
going to
remind you. I was going to remind you. That was on the tip of my tongue. Don't forget your homework.
Yes.
So, okay. Well, that will be. I await with bated breath.
Next week, I'll be able to tell you what happened.
Or I'm sorry, John. I forgot. It's okay.
All right.
Well, let's see. So this past weekend was a big B weekend for me because this was the week that I'm part of a club here, the Tualatin Valley Beavers Association, and the club does a big nucleus colony buy in every spring, and so this was the weekend that they were all delivered. So it's a couple months of everybody says, I want 1, 2, 3, 12, whatever. And I was kind of like what do you call somebody? Can't think of the word for it, but I was buying and turning around and selling them for no profit, for with friends. So I had basically 3 different, two friends, each of which got 2, and then one that got 1, and then I bought 1. So I ordered 6. of these nukes, and then had to pick them up at 7 a.m. on Saturday morning. Brought them back to my place, where two of my friends, the two that were experienced beekeepers, came and picked up their two, and just kind of took off. Although one of them, well, I don't know. I don't know that this matters much, but he brought me a bunch of ground pork, and I traded for some steaks and ground beef and stuff like that. So
I need to find something to trade you for steak.
Oh, well. I'm sure we could work something out. Sure, we could work something out. Anyway, so that, and then my this other couple, friends of ours, that they wanted to start beekeeping, and I'd help them pick out all their stuff, and so I went over to their place. I was wearing my mask and my bee suit, and it was we abided by all the socially distancing things, but they hadn't put a nuke together, so I was kind of their mentor and helped. The husband got all suited up and installed the nuke, and it was they texted me a picture from the next day, from Sunday, and they said it was a beautiful day. They were flying. It was great. So that was cool. And then Saturday was actually a pretty rainy day later on, so I didn't want to go into my hives. But Sunday was a nice day, and so I did a bunch of things. The first of which was I installed the nuke, so that was great. That was easy. But then I also went into that colony that I thought was going to die, that I put the eggs in a month ago,
right?
And there were eggs all over that hive. So they must have raised themselves a queen. She must have flown out, got mated, come back, and she is laying like a banshee. So I am super excited.
Cool.
The hive has dwindled. Like I've been watching it over the last month, and my other two have been booming, and that one has been like one or two bees coming out while the others are just swarming. But when I went into there, they are full of eggs and larvae, and so I think they've saved themselves, and so that's cool. And then I took my other two and that were all going crazy, and I split them. So I basically took out 10 frames out of each of them and made a new hive off to the side, or a new colony off to the side. And I did not find the queens in either of those, so I'm pretty sure that the queen stayed in each of the hives that I was taking the splits out of. But one of those had a bunch of swarm cells, which means they're trying to raise a queen. So I made sure to put a swarm cell in each of the splits. So hopefully that'll give them a boost, and they'll have a queen in a week to 10 days.
Now, if they get more than one queen, it's Battle of the Queens.
It is. Yep.
Okay.
The first queen out will generally go destroy any other queen cells.
Okay.
They'll fight.
Terminator queen.
Terminate. Although I've read / watched on YouTube people saying that sometimes you can get two queens in a colony, but it's very rare. And I think that probably happens mostly in like super huge colonies or something.
Right. Where there's some territory they can split off. They can share territory.
Yeah, you take the uplands, and I'll be the basement troll. So I had planned on 5 hives this summer, and I now have 6, or I may have 6. It depends on if both those splits take, I guess, which I will know in another month, basically. So, but it took me a long time on Saturday, because I did a whole bunch of, I had to set up a new hive stand, and I did a bunch of stuff in the morning, not really touching the bees, but just weed eating around and doing all that kind of stuff. And then I went out in the afternoon and spent a number of hours out there, which was fun. It was awesome. So
cool.
I eagerly await how much honey I'm going to get this year. He cackles and rubs his hands together. We will see. So anyway, that was my fun weekend.
Cool.
Which was cool. So
bee weekend.
It was a bee weekend. I'm really excited for spring. Spring is awesome. Spring is fun.
I see honey in your future.
I see a lot of dead bees out front of the hives after I was done. And I don't think I caused it at all. I think it was just a beautiful day and they were kind of cleaning out the trash. But since I weed eated in front of the hives and I put down some burlap and stuff like that, I could totally see all the dead bees, and I could see bees like bring
Right.
out their dead. And, like, it was pretty I guess it's pretty macabre. But anyway. All right. How about some follow-up? We're going to talk about Zoom, are we?
Well, actually, maybe we'll talk about Facebook first.
Okay, let's talk Facebook.
So, just be really quick. Facebook, I read an article where Facebook says it will start nudging, that's the word, that's the headline, users who have liked coronavirus hoaxes. So the company will point users who have interacted with harmful information about the coronavirus to the WHO. And of course, there's always more they can do, but you can read the article and decide for yourself. I have no insight into Facebook and how it functions anymore, but I thought, well, there you go. That's probably a helpful thing that Facebook is doing to tell people, hey, you liked an article which is actually not very good. Go check something else out. So
interesting.
We'll throw that article in there. And then the fun one from Zoom is, well, I also saw today, I don't have an article for this one, but I also saw today that, we had talked about Zoom had hired a number of security and industry experts to help them up their game on their security. And I saw an article saying that Zoom 5.0, which is the next big release of Zoom, is a massive security update. So good for Zoom. But this one is an open source program that allows you to do live video real-time deepfakes while you're in a meeting. So the article shows a video of a guy becoming Elon Musk in a Zoom meeting. And you can tell it's pretty fake. It's obvious it's fake. Just like the backgrounds, how you see the edging.
Yeah.
It's that kind of stuff. But there you go. That's the next level. Not only can you have your fancy backgrounds, but now you can have a fancy face if you want one.
That is crazy. Avatarify.
Yes. It's a great name.
Avatarify. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, that is fantastic. Okay. Well, I think I'm an old man. Get off my lawn. What? I like that. I like the comment.
Yeah. Well, if you're really bored, I made some mostly security backgrounds. So next meeting you're on, you can throw a mostly security background in.
I will. I saw this note, so I actually ran out and was like, "What did you do?" So I checked it out. I will have to. I didn't actually download and save it, but I will have to do that. So fun. Okay, cool. Well, I threw one thing into follow up here that was kind of more for like a you follow up, but I saw it and I was like, "This is super cool." So this is, you said, I don't know, was it Christmas time? Sometime in the last couple of months, you said that
I've been messing with Stripe.
played around with Stripe and how easy it was to do an integration with the Stripe API. And so I saw I think he's the CEO of Stripe, Collison. I forgot his name and I don't have the link up here. It had tweeted out a picture, but this is kind of cool. So you can choose what you want for like web, and in web you can do HTML and JavaScript or React or iOS or Android, and Kotlin or Java, for example, for Android, or for iOS you can do Swift or Objective-C, and then you can scroll through how to do an integration, and they totally walk you through all the code, the steps, and it's seems super followable and very nice. As you scroll down the page, it highlights the code that they're talking about and what you're doing and why. And
I did not look at this till
seems
just
really
now.
nice.
This is actually really cool.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
I thought that you would. I didn't know if you had seen this or not, but I thought that you would appreciate it, and I thought that was cool. So there we go. And we talked about that. I don't know. It seemed like a month or two ago.
Everything seems like a year ago right now.
Right. I did see a comment the other day. Yeah, tomorrow is March 54th. Yeah, exactly. So the other thing I have here for our breach of the week, which we didn't actually have last week, I realized as I went back and listened to your edit, which good for us. We don't have to have one, but this is one that I saw today, I think. But it was another payment processor breach. What's the name of this place? It's like Paay with a couple of A's.
Paay.
Anyway, Paay. It looks like you left an Elasticsearch open. So, yeah. I mean, like I said, it was kind of amazing a couple of weeks ago when we talked about something that wasn't actually Elasticsearch, Mongo, or AWS S3 bucket, which are seemingly the way to be these days. So this was a database storing millions of credit card transactions, had been opened for close to 3 weeks publicly on the internet with no password required.
Ouch.
So, yeah. And worse than that, perhaps, it says that they have each transaction contains the full plain text card number, expiration date, and the amount spent. They also contained a partially masked copy of the credit card number, which, why does it have a partially masked copy after it has the full plain text? I don't know. But it actually said, there was a quote in here that says, the founder disputed the findings. We don't store card numbers as we have no use for them. So this is a TechCrunch article. And TechCrunch sent him a portion of the data showing card numbers in plain text, but he did not respond to our follow-up. Yeah. So they didn't actually, they just said it was a database. Yeah, sorry. You like that?
I don't understand. They accept payments, and then we don't start card numbers because we have no use for them. Well, I have questions. if your job is to accept payments. Well, I know, but yeah. that's a funny comment to me.
Yeah. Well, especially in something called log. That's the thing. If you're going to store a log of your transactions, what are you going to log? So, they just said a database, a database that left a database exposed. But I'm guessing this is an Elasticsearch just from the fact that if you look at the image in the article, it has a _index, _type, _ID. So, which all are, to the best of my knowledge. Maybe they're not unique. I don't know. It looks like Elasticsearch to me. So there you go. There's my there's our breach of the week.
Breach of the week.
Sorry, man. Yeah. All right. How about an article? What'd you bring me this week?
All right. So the one that I picked out this week, and it's actually I have two. The first one is Ruby and Ruby gems. There's all these package management platforms, right? Ruby has one, Java, Node, NPM, Python. Mm-hmm. They all have places where people can go and publish their libraries for the rest of the world to use, which is this is great. It makes it very easy to pull things in, to use, leverage code other people have written, and just build upon it. However,
I'm sorry. Yeah. Did you share with me the image of NPM init that's unfolding an airplane slide?
Yes. Wasn't that?
So
yeah.
yeah. That's what you get when you exactly. That's what happens when you pull in packages. Yes. But there are numerous of these package repositories, one for every framework /language.
So you have these package management places that for various platforms, and this one is Ruby Gems, and it's Typosquatting, where there's malicious actors have decided, you know what we're going to do? We're going to check in a package named almost the same as the one that most developers like to use, but with just one character different, like instead of the dash, an underscore. So if you're
Right.
a developer looking for a specific package that you know you need, there will be one that's with an underscore and one that's with a dash. And if you type it in wrong or whatever, you may possibly inadvertently download that into your library. And a lot of these things like Ruby is used a lot for web applications. So you're not just infecting your own web application and yourself, but you're infecting any of your users if you're building that and other people are using it. So right now, what
It's like
this
playing
is
Russian
doing
package
is
roulette.
yes, is the goal of these typo-squatted packages is to steal cryptocurrency funds. We haven't talked about cryptocurrency that much in a while.
Of course they are.
Right. So it just redirects the cryptocurrency. So if you go to a website or wherever and you happen to have a wallet address or you're trying to send money, these packages will redirect that. And one of the interesting bits here is along with the packages, the malicious files, the executables were stored in a file called AAA.png. So it looks like a harmless image file, but that was actually the payload that they were sharing. So, and this isn't new. NPM we talked, I think last week, was it, about Sneak, who now can do real-time checking of your NPM packages to see if they have any vulnerabilities. So this is not new, but once again, it's not just bad actors going after end users, they're going after developers. So as you're developing stuff, make sure you know where your code you're pulling in is coming from, make sure you got the right names, etc., etc., etc. So
it is a really hard problem that is not well solved by package registries.
No.
Honestly.
No. And it's similar. Frankly, the package registries almost have to go. And the problem is there really isn't a company that's supporting these generally. It's kind of more community supported.
Right.
But to solve the problem, you now start to have to think. You now need to start thinking along the lines of Apple App Store or Google Play Store, where there's somebody is vetting them before you get to release them. Which I don't know how well that just doesn't feel like that will scale for these type of things, but it especially something that's community run and community driven. So that was my first.
Or you get something that forces you to have a real life accountability / traceability. Some form of registration, which is very anathema to many of these type of systems, but that means that some human can be held responsible for shenanigans for something like that, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So
all
right, very cool, very, very cool. And yeah, not a new scenario, but another thrust at it.
Yep. And then my second one is Cloudflare. We've talked about Cloudflare a number of times in the past. They're the 1.1.1.1, super fast internet guys. They now have a website that they have published that is called isbgpsafeyet.com. And the idea behind this website, you go here and it gives you a button that says, is my ISP using safe BGP practices? And it will say no when you click it.
Oh,
most
funny.
likely it will say no. But so BGP, Border Gateway Protocol, that is what is responsible for moving traffic from, kind of the big hubs on the internet from point A to point B, right? if you think of the UPS or the FedEx, they get a package with an address, destination on it, and then they throw it through some algorithm to decide the most efficient way, depending on whatever rules they have, to get that package to its destination. There's they decide. And one of the problems with BGP has been if not even a malicious, just somebody accidentally says, "Hey,
Right.
I know where," and this is we've talked about this in the past,
we
over
have.
the last couple of years. I know where I know where Facebook.com is. Send me all the Facebook.com traffic. And if they don't really know where it is, or they don't have access, it kind of puts a sinkhole. It can chop out half the internet, and it has in the past several times. And the problem really boils down to BGP was created and built in a more trusting time. There's no security around it.
Laissez-faire.
So,
welcome to all of the initial
most of the
internet protocols.
Yeah. So,
which I mean, let's not throw stones at the ancients. It was awesome and so amazingly well designed.
Oh yeah,
we're still using it today. The fact that there are how many TCP packets being automatically routed around the world today is insane. Anyway,
yeah,
it's amazing.
It's awesome. And so basically, this test, and I've seen a couple notes around that are kind of saying, "Hey, this is a little bit unfair to be throwing this," because when you click on that and it shows you the route and it says your ISP is not safe, there's a button for tweet at your ISP.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And there's been a few articles that I've seen around saying, "Hey, it's probably not the best time to be inundating your ISP with these types of things. Maybe in a few months when this whole COVID thing's kind of played out a little bit." But anyway, so sorry, I just want to explain how it works. So basically, how they're working that is when you click that button, what Cloudflare is doing is they announce a legitimate route to wherever, and but then as part of that legitimate route that they announce to the world saying, "Hey, I know how to route to X," they also include something to make that announcement invalid. And so if you can load the website on that route, that means the invalid route was accepted by the ISP, and therefore the ISP is not practicing this new protocol that they want to move people over, resource public key infrastructure, that hopefully will make those accidental or even malicious BGP hijacks and routes a little bit less likely to happen. Add a layer there. So that's what that one is. But it's a fun eyeball, peek behind the curtain as to how the internet works, and you can read all about BGP if you're interested in. Go see if your ISP is safe yet.
Yeah, mine is not safe, according to is BGP safe yet? But
yeah, no.
Wasn't there some controversy around RPKI?
That rings a bell, but I don't remember.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't either, which is at the end of the day the problem with getting older. But yeah, I don't know. I seem to remember that not everybody had done it, and I think that Cloudflare was the place that was kind of trying to standardize it. But I mean, regardless, every layer needs to have security added to it, and we've got it for the upper layers.
Right.
It is still pretty insane. I don't quite remember. I don't remember the details of where it was. Maybe we can put a link to the episode we talked about it. But there was some ISP in the boondocks somewhere that had put a whole bunch of invalid prefixes.
Right.
And there were. Actually, I shouldn't say the names because I'm pretty sure I remember the name of the company that was happily taking it and saying, "Okay, sure, here you go. Here, have all our traffic."
Yeah.
Here, why don't you dump why don't you dump this ocean liner into your bathtub? Here you go.
It'll
All right.
fit. Just keep
Yeah.
squeezing.
Well, you said it. You said to give it to you. Here you go. Oh, funny. Okay. Well, my topic tonight, I chose a iOS mail exploit. Did you read about this yet?
I just saw this fly by earlier this evening. I have not read anything about this yet.
Well, hypothetically, this blog, zecops.com, is the link to this, which is a research team that was evidently doing forensics on a investigation, and they say that they have observations that this has been triggered in the wild for a couple of years. They say the earliest triggers we have observed in the wild were on iOS 11.2.2 in January of 2018, but that it goes back potentially to iOS 6. So what is it? It's a vulnerability in the Mail client on iOS where if you they could an attacker could send an invalid mail and basically get remote code execution. So there were two actual the I'm not quite sure how much detail to go into this, but because the article is really long and goes into a lot of detail, it's actually a great article. But there were two actual vulnerabilities in here. One of which was go back to my notes here instead of the article. One of which was a failure to check a return condition, and so out of bounds, basically a buffer overflow.
Okay.
Where this is what's classic to me, right? This is what most functions, most Unix functions do. If the call fails, a -1 is returned, and the global variable error no specifies the error. So when you call a ftruncate system call and you don't check the return code, bad things can happen, right? And
Yeah, the return code's always going to be 0.
it's always succeeded every time I've tried it.
That's right.
Yeah. So this is the first one. Although they said in the article a couple of times that they don't actually think this is what they were being exploited or what was being exploited. They think that this was a accidental side effect. But the one they think was more exploited was basically a similar issue where they're trying to force a memory map to fail to get into a secondary condition in the function that also didn't test for success, and so they can trigger the vulnerability because the phones, especially older phones, the newer iPhone 10 I think has 3 gigs of memory, they said, but earlier phones only had 1 or 2 gigs, if that, and they can send basically a malformed mail that causes the mail client to attempt to decompress the mail a bunch of times, or essentially reallocate memory over and over again, and that causes a heap overflow. And it says, let's see, this is a great article. You should go and read it. I don't know how much else to say on this, but one of the things that I pulled out was on the timeline. I'm trying to picture how much back and forth was going on in here, because I think they said they released it in March. I didn't actually copy that part of the timeline, but it says that ZecOps shared a custom mail server to trigger the zero-click heap overflow vulnerability on iOS 13.4 and 13.4.1 easily by simply adding the username and password to mail and downloading the emails. So basically, they were working with Apple and had given Apple here you go, put in this user account for our mail server, and boom, we own your device. And to get to that point, I have to imagine that they must have had some declines from Apple earlier, or something along those lines. Of yeah, right. No, trust us. I don't know. I'm just in my head. I'm building this whole story of the interactions that who knows what actually went back and forth there. But this one sentence in here made me go, wow, I bet there's a story there.
Yeah.
So And then it took them 10 days or so. So from April 7th to April 16th, the vendor patches both vulnerabilities in the publicly available beta. And then here's the other story, is that we reanalyzed historical data, found additional evidence of triggers in the wild on VIPs and targeted personas. More about that in a second. We sent an email notifying the vendor. They don't actually say Apple in here, but who else writes iOS? That we will have to release the threat advisory imminently in order to enable organizations to safeguard themselves, as attackers will likely increase their activity now that it's patched in the beta. So in the article, they had suspected targets included individuals from a Fortune 500 organization in North America, an executive from a carrier in Japan, a VIP from Germany, MSSPs from Saudi Arabia and Israel, a journalist in Europe, and suspected, they say, an executive from a Swiss enterprise. So talk about a targeted exploit.
Well, and you don't even have, if you don't even have to open the email, right?
Correct-ish. On iOS 12, I think they said, let me look down in here.
Yeah, I'm reading your notes that iOS 13 was unassisted, didn't require a click when the mail application was open in the background. So that didn't have to, it just had to be an email had to show up in their inbox, and mail had to start processing and doing whatever it does to emails in the background. And that it's even worse if the attacker owns the mail server that's pinging.
Correct.
So
pretty bad. And the other thing they commented was evidently in iOS 13, the Mail app was split into a UI and a backend component. So Mailed for the backend, and then I don't know what they call the front end. And so on iOS 12, it says users may notice a sudden crash of the Mail application, but on iOS 13, since it's actually the overflow's happening in the background process, you wouldn't even notice anything other than a temporary slowdown, perhaps. So, and the other comment in here was that a lot of the mails that they believe should have been there do not seem to have been persisted. So and they postulate that it's because the malware is cleaning up its tracks, deleting the mail that had been sent. So. Yeah, you can see this is quite a long article.
Yeah.
Quite a long article. And they go into a lot of detail. And they've got decompiled code in various places that demonstrate the lack of checking return values.
I will have to read this. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. And it is patched. Although they say where is it? Did it actually get patched in 13.4.1? I didn't actually catch when they say it's patched.
In the beta. So what's the current beta? So yeah, so it's got to be 13.4 and 13.4.1.
Oh, wait. Sorry, here it goes. Apple patched both vulnerabilities in iOS 13.4.5 beta. So fix isn't out yet.
So, okay.
There you go.
Well,
so anyway,
don't become a famous celebrity.
Don't become a famous celebrity.
Or a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. I think we're safe, John.
I think we're safe. But maybe when 13.4.5 comes out, I'll install it pretty quick.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, there you go. That was my article. There's a bunch of other stuff in the TLDRs for the article, but yeah, goes back a long ways.
All right. Well, how
about something fun?
I was going to say, would you buy a video game about nothing?
Very unlikely.
Well, I have the game that's not for you then. So there is a game, and it's actually not a game. It's a pitch, because they want to make the game, but it's a Seinfeld game. And if you go to seinfeldgame.com, it is incredibly well done, and it is a pitch with sample gameplay and everything about Seinfeld, the sitcom. And I love at the beginning here, their quote here is like, "You may be thinking, you idiots, why would you make a game based on a sitcom that last aired over 20 years ago and potentially incur the wrath of lawyers like Reddit user DingDongs313 warned you about?" But yes, okay, actual lawyers did warn us not to touch it. However, I don't know. I honestly don't know if this is just a spoof or if it is please real, and it's all more pixelated, kind of 8-bit graphic looking.
Oh, look at Kramer.
Yeah, it looks hilarious. I have no idea what the concept of the game would be. I mean, it goes into the plot. You know, here's some ideas of what you would do. You would play a game like episodes. Anyways, having watched my fair share of Seinfeld episodes in the past, I thought this would be my something fun this week. The Seinfeld adventure video game, the unofficial pitch.
I can't figure out what the gameplay is, though.
Yeah, it's nothing.
Yeah, it's nothing.
It's like the show. Anyways, yeah. So there you go. Seinfeld, the video game. Watch the trailer. They got a trailer. They've got sample gameplay.
All right, that is fantastic.
There you go. Something fun.
All right, my turn.
Yeah. What fun things do you have for us?
All right. Well, I brought two something funs today or tonight. The first of which is the fact that today, as we record at least, but not as you listen, because I will not have this edited and posted in the next 51 minutes, is
Slacker.
Earth Day. So today, yeah, slacker. Oh my gosh, I feel it. Yes. Today is Earth Day. It's in fact the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. So I thought that would be one of my something funs because it is cool. But then I thought it would be my something fun tonight, but then I saw something else this afternoon that I was like, oh, I have to do that too. So unfortunately or fortunately for you get to. So Earth Day. I think the link that I'll throw into the show notes is actually to the USA Facts. There is a earthday.org that has a bunch of other stuff on there, but I like the USA Facts site for facts. So some of the facts that I thought were worth pulling out here, but you can go click around in there for lots of stuff. But there's a couple of Oregon ones. So the first is that Oregon gets 48.92% of our energy from renewable and nuclear resources.
Wow.
Which is pretty good, especially compared to the average in the United States. The U.S. overall is either 19 or 20%, depending on if you look at the chart on the right or the text on the left. So maybe USA Facts are a little open to interpretation. Or maybe the two packages round differently. I don't know. But anyway, so 48% from renewable. So that's good. Way to go, Oregon. Although we're not evidently the top two states, which is a bummer. But we're close. And then the second thing I pulled out about Oregon, at least, is that if you look over the last century, well, from a century ago, they chose a period a century ago where we have evidently data, and then with I think it was a decade, and then a decade earlier this century, and Oregon had one of the largest drops in precipitation from a century ago, which is ironic because we think that it rains a lot in Oregon, but evidently it used to rain more. So
rain today.
There you go. It did. It rained a lot today. And seemingly every time I went outside too. But yeah. So it wasn't much, but it was like 1.4%, negative 1.4%. But California had the biggest change, which I didn't actually pull out because I pulled out the Oregon facts. I don't know why. Gee, it's a mystery. But the other two that I pulled out, and then you can just go read out. There's lots of other stuff here, but in 1980, this I thought was, I didn't realize this. In 1980, the average U.S. county had good air quality days 59% of the time. But in 2018, the average county had good air quality days 81% of the time.
Bonus.
Way to go, Clean Air Act. There
Yeah.
you go. So that's cool. And then the fourth one is not necessarily a good thing, I don't think. Although it depends on if you want to look at electricity generation or transportation. But it is a chart that has transportation past electricity generation in 2017 as the largest source of U.S. emissions. So electricity has been going down as we were regulating power plants more strongly, and but transportation has been creeping up. But industry's been mostly going down over the last couple decades, although has been eking up a little bit in the end of this chart. And gee, I wonder why. So anyway, Earth Day, my first something fun. Okay, for my second something fun, I have to make you listen to a video that has swearing in it. But I'm going to pause right here. I want you to click that Twitter link in the notes.
The first one?
The first one. And watch the video with audio on. You have to be able to hear the audio.
All right.
Okay. You watch it. I'll be right here.
Okay, that was super cool.
Right?
I didn't believe it. I didn't know what I was watching until he turned the filter off, and I'm like, oh wow.
Right? Okay, so what it is, for the people that couldn't hear you watching that video right now, which I couldn't hear you either, but what this is it is our Nvidia RTX GPUs have a beta AI filter that removes background noises, so the only thing you can hear is your voice. So the video, if you go and click on the link in the show notes and go out and watch it, the video has a guy talking on a YouTube video, and you can hear him perfectly fine. And he picks up a dead blow hammer and starts banging on the desk, and he has a big fan pointed straight at his microphone, but you can hear him perfectly fine. And then he turns off the filter on his PC for a moment, and you can while he's still hitting the hammer, and you can hear. Then all of a sudden, you can't hear him because you've got a fan pointed at your mic, and you've got a banging on the desk with the hammer. And then he flips the filter back on, and boom, it goes away. So, and it says the quote from the Nvidia website, which is linked in there. So we'll put a link into the Twitter video. But Nvidia RTX Voice is a new plugin that leverages Nvidia RTX GPUs and their AI capabilities to remove distracting background noises from your broadcasts, voice chats, and remote video conference meetings. Use RTX Voice, though. This is the bummer part of the whole message. You must be using an Nvidia GeForce or Quadro RTX graphics card, update to driver 4.10.18 or newer, and be on Windows 10. So
I'm out on all accounts.
Well, yeah. But that's because Apple doesn't put NVIDIAs in their laptops either. Which is a bummer. But
that was
anyway,
really cool.
That's cool. I thought that was cool. So there you go. That's my my other something fun that I couldn't let pass tonight. So there you go.
All right, dude.
All right, call it a show.
Yes, it's a show.
We shall call it a show.
Have a good night.
All right, man. Talk to you later.
Bye.